Okay, once the temperatures starts rising, I realized I was back to the same worn out rotation. Same tank, same shorts, same everything. So I gave my daily uniform an upgrade with Quince. Their pieces are easy, elevated, and somehow make me feel more put together without even trying. Like 100% European linen shorts and dresses from $30. Luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. And the best part? Everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Go get yourself the Oxford Relaxed shirt. I got mine in pale blue. You're going to wear it all the time and you're going to love it. Treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/KKC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/KateCasey to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/KateCasey.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download Thumbtack today.
The amazing Kate Casey.
Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey. Today's episode is about the gripping new 3-part docuseries, Hey Beautiful, Anatomy of a Scam, now streaming on Hulu. In the digital age, there's big money in the business of broken hearts. Romance scams have become a global epidemic, with online con artists preying on the hopes and emotional vulnerabilities of women searching for connection. But how well do you really know the people behind those online profiles? It usually starts innocently, a compliment, a message, a hey beautiful in your DMs. But what follows is a carefully orchestrated emotional manipulation. These scams aren't about gullibility. They're about targeting deep-seated emotional needs. The scammers are calculated, patient, and often part of vast international criminal networks, many traced back to Nigeria, operated by so-called Yahoo boys. They use social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and dating sites like Plenty of Fish and Match.com to find victims. Using stolen photos, usually of attractive men in uniform or good-looking professionals, they build fake personas to gain trust over weeks or even months. And once that bond is formed, the lies begin. Medical emergencies, military leave snafus, legal troubles, and always followed by a plea for money. One of the most frequently impersonated men in these scams is Brian Haugen, a Los Angeles-based makeup artist whose photos have been stolen and used to deceive countless women. He's never spoken to these victims, but his face is the one they've fallen for. Scammers using his image often open with lines like, hey, beautiful, or do you remember me, to create an immediate and false sense of intimacy. Well, this docuseries follows 3 women, Annette, Roxy, and Gaby, who each fall in love with the same online persona, only to discover that they've been scammed. But instead of walking away, they fight back, launching a relentless investigation to uncover the man behind the lies. And what they find is even more shocking than what they expected. So in this episode, I speak with director Andy Robertson, who shares the behind-the-scenes story of making the series, and with Brian, who all of the women, Annette, Roxy, and Gaby, thought they had fallen in love with. Brian opens up about the emotional and professional toll of having his image stolen and used in these cruel cons. Here's my interview with Andy and Brian. Brian, Andy, I'm so excited to have you on the show.
It's really a pleasure to talk to you, Kate.
And I have to say thank you, Andy, for a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Andy, some of the projects that you work on, if you look at the totality of all the projects you've worked on, is this going to be one of those things where you look back and you think, I actually feel like I was part of a cultural shift?
Yeah, I think so. I've been involved in reality television since reality television was around. I started off doing series like American High and Temptation Island in the late 90s.
American High, one of my favorites of all time.
Oh, thank you. It's a great show, and it was a fantastic experience. And I really like to be able to be involved with reality TV at its inception. You know, in the 1 year I did American High and Temptation Island were my two projects as a very young editor. And I feel like I kind of got to start in like the most extreme ends of the reality TV spectrum. And I think, you know, after having, 30 years doing this kind of thing, this project to me represents something very, very different. You know, this is the first project that I've created and developed and brought to fruition on my own. And so that's just a point of pride for me that I was able to kind of find the story and find all of these people and meet Brian and meet all these women. And I really hope that this, reality TV's been going through some tough times lately. It's been hard for those of us this is our employment, this is our bread and butter. So it's been a bit difficult, but this kind of program is still very popular, and this particular piece of subject matter is very intriguing. And the characters that I came across are just remarkably open and sharing with these very vulnerable experiences that they've all been through. And so it's really been just, for me, a transformative experience to be in a project with these people who are just so giving of their own stories like this. And I really hope it can kind of change the cultural conversation around, how we tell stories about people. I just tickled by how it's come out. And I'm just so grateful that I finally have a chance to be here with a project like this.
Well, how did the project come to be?
Well, I had come off of another show about 3 years ago. That was a tough experience for me. And I was having one of those, like, should I quit the business moments? A real identity crisis of who I wanted to be in this industry. And I decided to go on this retreat, kind of spur of the moment. I went to this place called the Esalen Institute in Big Sur for this it was a bit of a writer's retreat, a creative workshop hosted by a husband and wife. And I didn't even really know what I was doing. And I got to this place and they have a wonderful cafeteria. And I remember sitting down by myself and I suddenly just got really nervous. And, insecure little me was just like thinking, I don't belong here. I've made a terrible mistake. And suddenly the door to the cafeteria burst open and this extremely handsome man walked through the door. And I just thought to myself, oh God, he just reminds me of that jock in high school and all the girls loved him. And I resented him and he didn't even know my name. And I just thought to myself, oh God, I hope he's not in my seminar. And I put my head down. And a minute later, a tray sits down next to me and I look up and it's that man. And it was Brian. And he starts to,
let me inject something here. This is a great story, Kate, because I walked into the cafeteria and I've been to Esalen many times. So I was also attending a workshop. Funny enough, I came with one idea and the person in charge was like, I don't think that's why you're here. But as I walked through that line, no one else was in there on a Sunday evening yet because it was in between. And I saw this person sitting over in that beautiful spot by the window, which is one of the best spots to sit to have that beautiful view. And I literally through the line of getting my food, Brian, go sit by that person. Brian goes, my internal voice kept telling me, get up the balls to do it. And I did it. And I went over there and I say, may I sit by you? Kind of like, and I sat by him. And
so we start to talk and I realize he's in my seminar and he's telling me about how he's a makeup artist and he's trying to develop this business. And I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my God, I feel like such a fool because I've imagined this sort of terrible persona for him and just projected it onto him. And then he starts to tell me, he tells me about like all of these women that have fallen in love with him, and he's having all these problems with his social media accounts because his identity has been stolen and used in all these romance scams. And then I realized, like, I'm not the only person to make that mistake. I'm sitting here with a man who has the kind of face that it's like a blank movie screen, and people can just project onto it whatever they want. I'm projecting my insecurities on it, but all these women are projecting their fantasies. And he just can become like, it's just something about Brian and his face. It can just become whatever is sort of needed for that situation. And it just, we became friends. We started talking about this. Over the course of the seminar, we shared a lot of like deep insights about ourselves and thinking a lot about identity and what identity means and how we present ourselves online, the sort of the secret self that we don't tell anybody else about. And I was realizing that all these women that are falling in love with Brian, like they also have this sort of secret self, and their scammer is exploiting that, saying, I see you, I love you, you're beautiful. And it just makes these women fall for him. So Brian and I became friends, and we started to develop this project. He started to record all of his interactions with all of these women. And this archive is just a major part of the documentary. And it's just, that was just sort of the genesis. That was 3 years ago next month.
And Brian, if we were to go back, before this meeting and when this is all sort of starting to unravel for you as it's shown in the docuseries, take us back to the moment where you realize the women that are contacting me that are frustrated because they've fallen in love with me, I'm now being used in this horrific scam.
It has been a long time for me to really wrap my head around it, that I have been used. And I will say that word, I think while we are actually filming this, I came to that realization. I've been used, and and that's an interesting thing. That's a great question you asked, Kate. Now, what happened though is there was an annoying part to me because I would have to come home to emails and social media messages, 3, 4, 7, 10, 12 a day. Can you please let me know that this is the real person? I've been talking to this person. And there came a point after a few years of this going on, after the FBI contacted me, which was around the beginning of September 2020, and then Facebook account got shut down about a week later. There was a moment where I was just like, I am so tired of this. Literally, I was just exhausted by these. And I had a client that I would tell this story to, and she's like, you don't have to reply to any of those women. And it was like, oh, I don't? Yeah, you don't. Okay, I get it. And I got it. And so I started unloading all the emails. Sadly, we could never find the original email that I had. But maybe I knew that I was being used. I looked at it as I didn't look at it as a use, but I looked at it as, oh, wow, these women, I think I looked at it as, oh, these women need some help. Which is crazy because that was not my job. But I took it kind of personally that I was going to help these women. I'm sorry, you've been scammed. That's not me. And at the same time, my head is just like going, what's going on? Oh my gosh, there's hundreds. Now there's, I don't know how many, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds. And as someone says, there's thousands upon thousands of accounts using Brian's images.
So I'm one of those moms now who has a daughter that loves to wear her clothes as well. That's why I love to shop at Revolve, because my daughter and I can both find great stuff. Over 1,200 brands and 100,000 styles across high-end, emerging, and exclusive labels in fashion, beauty, and in home goods. You're going to have the most popular brands like Lovers and Friends, Amanda Uprichard, Norma Kamali, A. Goldie, and Michael Costello. Authentic, high-quality products. New arrivals come daily. Inclusive sizing options, personalized product recommendations based on your purchase history. Revolve has it all. I just ordered Mia a beautiful more to come maxi dress and gold sandals for a graduation party in June. And I can't wait to start ordering clothes for all of the fun parties that I'm going to go to. From last minute getaways to party dressing and seasonal upgrades, Revolve has you covered with fast 2-day shipping and easy returns, all of them. And for a limited time, you can shop a curated selection of my favorite styles at revolve.com/KateCasey, and you can receive 15% off your first order with the code KateCasey. That's revolve.com/KateCasey to shop my top picks and get 15% off your first order with code KateCasey. Offer is only valid for a limited time, so don't miss out.
When I put together my bag each day, I need the essentials, my wallet, my keys, and I also need my liquid IV, which is helping me stay hydrated throughout the whole day. You can break the mold and own your own ritual with just 1 stick and 16 ounces of water, which hydrates better than water alone. Powered by Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration, 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. And I gotta tell you, the best flavors. You have a multitude of flavors, acai berry and lemon lime to pina colada, or you can choose from their line of sugar-free flavors like raspberry lemonade, white peach, and rainbow sherbet. Get ready for a long day with extraordinary hydration from Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code Kate Casey at checkout. That's 20% off your first order with code Kate Casey at liquidiv.com.
You also work with so many older women. And then when you're confronted with the reality that the same kind of women that you work with so closely were being scammed and using your image, that must have been a very strange kind of crossover for you.
Yeah, it was a strange crossover. And what was the strange crossover is on social media now I'm having women that are finding me on social media that are in the demographic that I really work with. I work with women that are in, probably I like to say probably the average age is probably about on the bell curve, maybe around 55. Mm-hmm. And that really goes out wide. And they found me. It's interesting that I could easily just work with women that are, younger women that are in their 20s and 30s, which I have, but I do. But it's that demographic that I have worked with forever that I feel really comfortable with, that I enjoy working with. And I think they really appreciate me. I think they're really grateful that, this guy is going to help me with my makeup, with my beauty. And all of a sudden I have these women that are contacting me, and it turns into women finding my website, finding what I do. And it's now the pandemic, and I'm offering what I do, which is teaching women how to do their own makeup. That's one portion of my business, which then grew into a cosmetic line. I always had a cosmetic line with it, but the women found me through my virtual classes so they could see the real Brian, to help them find out that, is this really? And the first woman that did that, we got off the call, and I know what's going on now. I'm very aware. And I was kind of like nervous. She was showing up, and it was a very, very different time zone. It was early in the morning for her. It was 2 p.m. for me. And she's prepared, makeup on the table, ready. And we get off that call after about 40 minutes. And she had asked me a question at the very end of that call. I said, I'm pausing as I'm asking this question, kind of hesitating, because I don't know if it's going to open a can of worms. And I say, was there any, it's a normal question. Hey, was there anything else I can show you or teach you, or you have any questions? And lo and behold, the first words out of her mouth, do you know Michael Silver?
Hi.
And I was like, count to 10, Brian. Count to 10. And it was that moment where I was like, you've been scammed. And she kind of was like, what? And we got off that call. She didn't believe me. Wow. She did not believe that I was, because she had been told. Because she told me, but not me, that I'm going to have a conversation with a guy that looks just like you, and it's the guy that claims to be Brian. And and he said to her, no, just so you know, he's using a technology that can be used, and don't believe it. And that's exactly how she showed up. And then we had another interview months later, and it was completely different.
Yeah.
And that is when the relationship.
She wanted to unload on you,
She wanted to unload on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're right. A lot of women have unloaded on me.
Yeah.
Women in this story have unloaded on me. where it became silent. Our conversations, there was no, in my own mind, I was like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm done. And it would just like be inundated. She'd stop, and all of a sudden, just messages after message would come again. And then it'd stop. It was a start and stop, which is very much what goes on in their world. They stop, they pull back. I'm not going to go back to him. It's a cult feeling for them. And they'll go back, and then all of a sudden they just can't not go back. And I didn't know that. Like one woman I shared is not a part of the documentary, but we're close. We chat. And I said, I really recommend you go see a therapist. And that's truly from my heart. Oh, she got just so offended. I can't believe you would say such a. I don't need that. That shows that I'm weak. And I'm like, well, actually, what I found in therapy is it's not that I'm weak. It's actually that I am willing to ask for help in areas that I need help. And it's actually showing my strength to be vulnerable. But you can share that, and that doesn't change what they think of it all. They have to come to that on their own.
I think that also there's an element of, when does this end? They come to the realization they've been scammed, and then they see you, the person they thought that you were supposed to be, and then you're not at all like the person that they envisioned. So it's like a double whammy. Like, when is this going to end?
It's a very, these women like described a lot of this moment in the interviews that we did. And for them, it's a very surreal moment when they're contacting Brian, because as they're first getting in touch with him, they're starting to doubt what the scam is. They're not exactly sure what their world is. They're at this moment of supreme confusion. The scammer knows, they found this guy online. The scammer knows that they've got the person whose pictures I've stolen is about to talk to this person. So they start throwing all this misinformation at them. So the women come to these phone calls very confused. It's a very, very confused moment for them. And it takes them, the fallout from trying to make sense of the fact that like they were scammed and that this wasn't real, and that somebody's really not in love with me is an extremely painful process for them. Mm-hmm. And so this for all of the women, I think, as they talk about in the series, it's the weeks and months after that are the hardest for them to get through. And I think during that time, they start to form these bonds with Brian, because he's kind of a stand-in for this figure. He becomes a new friend for them, and I think that there's the kind of a transference of that friendship, that romantic relationship to that friendship that has happened. It's a really interesting phenomenon to watch, and you can see it in the show.
By the second call, we're friends, and they're sharing things with me that they've never shared with a friend that they just met, because that there's a collapse in the relationship they had with their scammer, who is me, who they fall in love with. And all of a sudden they met the real guy, and that world collapses and collides into one. And they just continue on their way with trusting, because they put so much trust. This is a story about trust, love and trust, and so many other things, and lies, and sex, and money, and hope, and dreams. All of that is covered.
At the beginning of this project, were you aware of the Yahoo Boys, or did that sort of unfold as you started making the project?
I didn't know. Actually, I found a little bit about it.
Doing in the research for this project, we'd come across a lot of information on about scammers, the kind of people who do this. I've been interviewing a lot of experts and some law enforcement agents, just kind of on background to learn about this. And so learning. There have been some articles written about the Yahoo Boys for a while. It's not a new phenomenon. They've been around since the early 2000s, late 90s, with the Nigerian Prince email scams. Mm-hmm. But as we started to get into the process in the documentary, and we had a cybersecurity investigator, cybersecurity analyst who really dug into all the evidence that we were able to collect on the show. And it was Paul Raphael who was able to really, inform me and the audience in this case about the Yahoo Boys and how they operate and how their organizations are structured. And it's a fascinating organization, or rather a decentralized network of scammers. It's not necessarily what you would expect.
No.
But learning who they were and how they functioned and their history, and especially the ways that they move money around the globe, is the real fascinating part. Like the sort of human capital that is involved in the money laundering is kind of what sits at the heart of the scam.
So as you continue to get knee deep into this, and then you start talking to Paul, and you're confronted with the reality of these networks, did you feel like there's any hope, any semblance of hope that this can be stopped?
Well, I think it's going to take a bit of a cultural shift to stop. We need to get the word out there that this is what's going on. Hopefully the show will be able to help Brian out, at least in the fact that people who see the show, who then get an email from a guy using his pictures, will know this is fake. So we need to raise awareness about this problem, first of all. We talked with some folks at the FBI about this as well during the course of the film, and they're making arrests. But it's important that if you happen to get caught up in the scam, that you preserve all the evidence that you've got, and that you talk to if United States, talk to the FBI, because they're the law enforcement agency that's going to be able to do the most for you. And the FBI does successfully prosecute some of these cases. They don't tend to always go after the lower level scammers, but they try to break up the bigger organizations. And they've had some successes and made some arrests lately, but there's still a long way to go. It's it's not just a matter of stopping the Yahoo Boys. It's also a matter of beginning to, the social media companies and the dating sites and the people that are allowing these fake profiles to flourish and allowing the Yahoo Boys to conduct their scams on there, they need to do a lot more about the presence of these bad actors and these fake profiles on their platforms. And that is, I think, the step that would greatly reduce it the most.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Wondery.
Here's a tip for growing your business. Get the Venture X business card from Capital One and start earning unlimited double miles on every purchase. That's right. With unlimited double miles, the more your business spends, the more miles you earn. Plus, the Venture X business card has no preset spending limit, so your purchasing power can adapt to meet your business needs. The Venture X business card also includes access to over 1,000 airport lounges. Just imagine where the Venture X business card from Capital One can take your business. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/VentureXBusiness.
And Brian, you make a great point of saying in the series that it's important to talk about what's happened to you. That I think it's unfair how we all carry the shame when we're the victim. Like the perpetrator just gets away with it. And why do we have to carry the shame when we're not even the person that inflicted pain on someone? So how has this totally changed your life personally and professionally?
My life, at this very moment, still, my life revolves around this situation. I have to say, we have a documentary that's releasing on the 20th of May in a few days, which is a great thing because this is a culmination of finally getting the story out. But for so many years, I was just telling this story to people, and they were just like, "What are you talking about?" And the story just kept building, and people were like, "Wait, people are contacting you, and they're." Well, I'm off on my trip to Big Sur, the one where I met Andy, and I get a message from one of the women that has been sending me money. I wish that money was coming to me, but it wasn't coming to me. And she says, "What are you doing on vacation? You're spending that money I'm giving you, and there's nothing I can do." It's like, not my responsibility to have to reply back to her. Right. On the 10th of February, 10th of September 2020, my Facebook account gets shut down. My Facebook profile, which contains 2 pages of mine. One is my acting page, and the other is my cosmetic line page, where I have classes in cosmetics. Both of them are dead in the water. Now I open multiple accounts afterwards, and they each get shut down. Now I have an account that's just kind of me in a very cloudy face. And then there's other accounts, Instagram accounts, living in this social media world, which kind of, I have to say, and I'm not the only one, it's kind of social media. Do we have to do this? It's not going anywhere. And
the whole thing is taking the wind out of my sails. It's taking the wind out of my sails when it goes to my business, because it's that every step I'm dealing with that. Oh, can I put up a photo of Brian on my website? And I'll be honest, even though I know I shouldn't, or I don't know if it's a should or shouldn't, that I have to be mindful of it. If I'm in the front of doing a shot for my business, that will be likely okay, because there's cosmetics maybe I'm holding, and I'm mindful of that. But posting things personally is rather difficult. But the good news about that is I don't have to be curating content any longer, because my original Instagram page, which had the huge amount of followers, it was a daily event in creating a persona. But my assistants have tried to help me get accounts open and then try to get the word out there. And I ask myself, how much has this affected my ability for people to find me and create, and for me to have, what's the word I'm looking for? Credibility. Because when you pull up Brian online, there's fake accounts, and that's who that person is. You go online, I show up, and fake accounts all over. There's over 100 accounts still today that are live across multiple social media sites. There's thousands of accounts that have been opened that probably live still somewhere out there that we haven't found. That hurts my reputation. Yeah. And I think something does need to be done about it. And it has to come from multiple places. But the social media companies and all those organizations that are part of that need to come together and take this really serious. Because not for me getting my accounts back and up and running, it's to help these people that fall into this. And there is nothing wrong with these people falling into this. These are people that are just going through their lives, wanting love, wanting acceptance, wanting a life that they have dreams of, and this is where we go for to date. And something needs to be done to prevent people from falling into this, because that's how easy it is to fall into. And with that, the good news is maybe we wonder, will my Facebook account, can I get my original Facebook account back with those two pages on it? I don't know. Writing letters to Meta and to Facebook is crazy. One of the women, she says, "Oh, Brian, I've got all my girlfriends that have written letters, and we're all writing letters to that Mr. Zuckerberg. We've written so many letters." I'm like, great, keep writing letters.
Right. Andy, when you look back at this project, what is the thing that's going to stay with you the most?
I think let me think about this. I think looking back at this project, that the things that are really going to stay with me the most are the people that were involved in it. You know, Roxy and Annette and Gaby were all just extraordinary women who brought us into their homes and brought us into their lives and just expressed their vulnerability to our cameras. And we're so grateful for them for telling their stories. And meeting Brian, and Brian's extremely vulnerable with his story. He's extremely open kimono, so to speak, about what his life is like. And there are plenty of elements of Brian's life that he has revealed for our cameras in this show that I think is going to surprise a lot of people. He is not at all what these women expected him to be. And I think what really will stick with me is that I went into this project thinking a certain thing about what these people were like, you know, like, oh, you must be an idiot to fall for a scam like this, you know, but I really had that expectation turned on my head as soon as I started to talk to these people. These are smart women, you know, these are women who are, you know, Gaby is an extremely successful businesswoman. You know, she was the biggest financial loser of this situation, and she had the money to lose. She'd really been a big success in her life. And she's a smart lady and she's a smart businesswoman, but they came to this, each one of these women came to this experience when their scammer reached out to them at a particular moment of vulnerability and loneliness in their life. There's just this epidemic of loneliness in this world right now, as all of our lives have moved on, our romantic lives and our dating lives and our friendships have moved on to social media, and we're having less and less real human interaction. And these very smart women who are going through difficult times in their lives, some of them were married, and their marriages had not been fulfilling for them, and some of them had been through a terrible divorce, and they were looking for something. And this person found them at this particularly vulnerable moment and struck. And that was really the big takeaway for me, is that, like, you think you know what somebody's life is is like when you start out. I thought I knew who Brian was that first time I saw him in Big Sur. I thought, oh, this handsome jock, and he's not at all that. And I thought I could tell you exactly what Roxy and Gaby and Annette were going to be like, and it was not at all what my expectations were. And I think what I took away from the show is that, you know, you just really can't judge a book by its cover, because nothing is as it seems. Nothing in the show is as I thought it was going into it. None of the characters all of the characters are going to surprise the audience. They're going to have their expectations turned on their head. It's going to be a lot of fun as they learn these things. But they're also going to learn an awful lot about people and to not prejudge them, because what's really going on underneath the surface is going to surprise you.
You know, my takeaway is they screwed with the wrong three women.
Yes, they did.
They got the wrong women. I hope that they walk away from this, and after this airs, they feel like they got their power back.
I do too.
Yes, ma'am.
And bravo to you, Brian, for being so kind to them and helping them, because you could have just walked away and you didn't, because you cared. And the fact that you have this really nice relationship with them speaks so much about the person that you are.
Yeah, it's great. I care about them. It's strange, you know, to think that but it's true. And I want the best for each of them. I know so much about them. I know so much. And I know what they hope for. I know what they want. And yeah, you know, I think that's just the thing, you know, you go through life and it's a nice reflection about my own self. Also, what I want, what I hope for in life. And then when you get to relate with someone else and what they're hoping for, and having gone through this tumultuous, crazy situation, you begin, you know, and then you come together and you become friends and you become confidants. They've shared way more with me than I've shared with them. They're going to learn much more about me when they watch episode 2.
Right.
That will definitely.
But it's not going to make a difference.
No. And I love that you. Thank you.
It won't. They're actually going to like you more, because I think there's this profound moment in episode 2 where you realize that as an young person, you struggled with being able to be honest about your identity.
Yeah.
And then here you are as an older person, your identity was taken from you.
I always thought that the name could be or could be a scripted version of this, or a name. It was called originally, it was Secret Identity, and then it changed to Hey Beautiful, Anatomy of a Romance Scam. And through the very beginning, I always thought Secret Shame would be such a great name for this, because that's what's going on here, is everybody holding on to their shame. There's they're packaging it and keeping it tight. And it's like, you got to let it out.
Yeah. I think in the end, you all became accidental advocates.
Yes.
And so they were seeking connectivity, and there was a sense of freedom that they were excited about, romantic freedom, the shifting a point in their lives with like an ex, and in the end they became these accidental advocates who are probably going to save a ton of people a lot of money and heartache.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Andy, tell everybody where they can watch it and where they can find you.
You can stream this on Hulu on May 20th. That's next Tuesday. And you can find me at trinoculusfilms.com.
And then, Brian, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at _by_Brian. That's my business account. Maybe there'll be a personal Instagram coming soon after this, if I so desire. You can also, and my website, which is also bybrian.shop. You can chat with if there's it's a store, obviously.
Well, you know what you can do is you can use the picture from the series. That should be your profile picture.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then no one will be concerned whether or not it's,
the real
a fake
one.
person.
Yes.
We'll know it's you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then have ABC tag you too.
And have ABC tag me.
Yeah.
Because that's the interesting thing, because I can't really they can tag my business, but they want to tag my personal,
Do you have a picture with all three women?
Yes.
Then you post that. That's your first.
Yeah.
That's your first post.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm your life coach. I'm just saying I'm your life coach.
Yeah, right. This is fun. Yeah, because there's all these things go through it goes through my head. Do I want an account? Do I not want an account?
Yes, you're going to open an account, but you're going to have somebody else peek in and check. You're going to have it. Someone else just peek. You don't need to go in and read comments or whatever.
Perfect.
But there's no way you're letting these weirdos in another part of the country dissuade you from doing what every human is afforded the opportunity to do, which is to have a landing page where people can find them in their lives. That's it.
Yeah.
End of story. So first picture is a picture of you with all the women, and the profile picture is the one of the series.
Love it. Great.
There you go. Okay, good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you
so much, Kate.
And Andy, American High. I loved it.
Oh, yeah, that was such a great. I met my wife on American High. Actually.
You did? Oh, yeah, awesome.
She's my partner in my production company, and we've been together ever since.
Oh, I love that. Well, tell her I loved it too.
I will tell her.
The amazing Kate Casey.
I want to thank my fantastic guests and remind you to click subscribe. Please leave a 5-star review and join the Facebook group Reality Life with KKC. I want to know if you know anybody who has had this scam happen to them. Also, make sure that you get my What to Watch list, which I put out every week of what to watch in unscripted TV. You can get that at katecasey.substack.com, and you've got to subscribe. And then also make sure you are subscribed for my bonus episodes. Don't miss out on that. You can get them at Patreon, patreon.com/Kate Casey. And finally, make sure that you follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at @KateCaseyCA, TikTok it's Kate Casey, and Twitter and Threads at Kate Casey. Check back tomorrow for an all-new episode with Krista Rosa. We're going to be talking about the secret lives of Mormon wives.
At Hotels.com, we know some travelers crave an ocean breeze. Others don't want to deal with sand. And oftentimes, those two people end up together. Compare properties side by side to find yourself poolside, oceanside, and still in a relationship. Find your perfect somewhere with Hotels.com.